Okay, let's talk about something that sends a shiver down pretty much everyone's spine, cold showers. You've probably heard about it, right? It's this huge biohacking trend, but it's also an ancient practice. For a lot of us, though, it just sounds like morning torture. So what's the real story? Beyond all the hype, what does the science actually say? Let's get into it.
I mean, it's a totally fair question, isn't it? That initial shock, the gasping for air, it honestly feels like your body is just screaming no. But, and this is a big but, a growing pile of research is suggesting that this deliberate, controlled stress might be one of the best things you can do for your mind and your body. The whole secret is understanding what that jolt of cold is actually doing to you on the inside.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the science of that initial shock. What happens the second the water hits? Then we'll get into the surprising ways it can boost your brain. After that, we'll explore what it does for the rest of your body, from your immune system to your metabolism. We'll even touch on the perks for recovery, skin, and hair. And then at the very end, I'll give you a safe, science-backed way to actually start doing this yourself.
Now, before we get into any of the benefits, you have to understand this one single concept, the cold shock response. And this isn't just a feeling of being cold, okay? It is a powerful, totally involuntary survival mechanism that's hardwired into us. And pretty much every single benefit we're about to talk about stems directly from this initial, super intense reaction.
So, what is actually going on in your body when that icy water hits your skin? Let's dive into the science of that initial shock. It's like a rapid-fire chain of events that immediately puts your entire body on high alert.
Okay, so first off, your skin has way more receptors for cold than it does for warmth, like 3 to 10 times more. So when that cold hits, they just blitz your brain with this massive electrical signal. This immediately kicks your sympathetic nervous system, you know it as your fight or flight mode, right into high gear. And the result? Your body gets a flood of adrenaline and noradrenaline, the very hormones that get you ready for action. This is literally your biology working exactly as it's designed to.
All right, so your body is in full-on survival mode. And that sounds, well, it sounds stressful, right? Not exactly beneficial. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. This primal stress response can actually be harnessed to sharpen your mind and even lift your mood. Let's see how that shock turns into focus.
It feels completely backwards, doesn't it? I mean, we spend so much of our lives trying to avoid stress, and here we are talking about deliberately causing it. But the secret is in the unique neurochemical cocktail that a cold shower serves up.
Get a load of this number. What you're seeing here represents the increase in dopamine. You know, that powerful brain chemical for motivation and focus and mood. One study found that cold water immersion can jack it up by 250%. I mean, come on, that's not just a little bump, it's a significant, long-lasting release.
So what does that all mean? Well, this flood of norepinephrine and dopamine is the reason for a whole bunch of mental benefits. You feel way more alert and focused, and not just for a few minutes, but for hours after. And by forcing yourself to stay calm under that physical stress, you are literally training your brain to be more resilient. You're building what people call grit. Some studies even point to an antidepressive effect. One found it can dramatically shift your ratio of positive to negative feelings, which is just incredible.
Now, the benefits aren't just all in your head. That initial shock sets off a whole cascade of changes throughout your entire body. So let's take a look at what cold exposure does for your immune system, your metabolism, and even your circulation.
And this number right here just blows my mind. This comes from a huge study in the Netherlands. They found that the people who ended their showers with a blast of cold water called in sick from work 29% less often than the group that didn't. 29%. So, how is that even possible?
Well, the main theory is that the stress from the cold basically gives your body a kick in the pants to produce more leukocytes. And these are the white blood cells. They're the frontline soldiers of your immune system that fight off viruses and bacteria. You're pretty much putting your immune system through a little workout, making it stronger and more ready for action.
Okay, let's talk metabolism. We all have two main kinds of fat. You've got white fat, which is basically for energy storage. Then you have brown fat, which is like the body's furnace. Its job is to burn calories to create heat. It turns out that deliberate cold exposure is one of the best ways to fire up this brown fat. Over time, it can even help convert some of that storage fat into more metabolically active fat.
And finally, your circulation. So when that cold water hits you, all the blood vessels near your skin slam shut. They constrict. Then, when you warm up, they open back up. They dilate.
This constant constricting and dilating acts like a workout for your entire circulatory system, which can have amazing long-term benefits for your heart health.
Okay, so beyond all those deep, systemic health benefits, there are also some more immediate, tangible perks. These are the ones that have made cold showers super popular with athletes and, anyone who cares about their skin and hair.
There's a reason you always see pro athletes sitting in giant tubs of ice. The cold constricts blood vessels, and that helps to crush swelling and inflammation after a hard workout. The end result? Less muscle soreness and a faster recovery. A quick cold shower can give you a milder and, let's be honest, much more accessible version of that same benefit. Plus, it can be amazing for calming down itchy skin if you have something like eczema.
And what's really cool is how that same basic mechanism, that tightening of the blood vessels, also helps out your skin and hair. The cold water temporarily tightens up your pores, which can make your skin look smoother. And unlike hot water, it doesn't strip away all the natural healthy oils from your skin and scalp, so you stay more moisturized. For your hair, a final cold rinse actually flattens down the little scales on each strand so they reflect more light. And that means shinier, less frizzy hair. Pretty cool, huh?
All right, so by now, you might actually be convinced. You might be thinking, okay, I'll give it a try. But just diving headfirst into an ice-cold shower can be, well, a huge shock to the system. So let's talk about the safe and smart way to start making this a part of your routine.
First things first, and this is really, really important, a safety warning. That initial cold shock response causes a massive, sudden spike in your heart rate and your blood pressure. So if you have any kind of pre-existing heart condition or high blood pressure, this is not something you should just experiment with. Seriously, please talk to your doctor first.
Now for the good news. You know that intense, can't breathe, gasping shock you feel the very first time? It gets better, and it gets better fast. The scientific term for this is habituation. Your nervous system basically learns and adapts, and the research shows that panicky shock response can be cut way, way down after just 4 to 6 times. Honestly, the hardest part is just those first few attempts.
So here it is, a simple, effective way to start. Don't jump into a freezing shower from the get-go. Just take your normal warm shower. Then, at the very end, turn the dial all the way to cold for just 30 seconds. That's it. Focus on your breathing. The next week, maybe try for 45 seconds. A great goal to shoot for, based on a lot of solid research, is a total of about 11 minutes of cold for the whole week. And hey, pro tip, if you really want to boost those metabolic effects, try to let your body shiver and warm itself back up naturally instead of grabbing a towel right away. And this quote from Andrew Huberman really just nails it. Yes, all the physical benefits are fantastic, but the real power might be what this practice does for your mind. Learning to stay calm and in control when every single instinct in your body is screaming at you to jump out, that's a skill. That's mental training. It builds a kind of resilience you can take with you and apply to any stressful situation in your life. So we end on this question. It reframes that horrible initial discomfort not as something to run away from, but as a tool, a brief voluntary stressor that could unlock a stronger, healthier, and more focused version of yourself. The science is definitely compelling, but in the end, the only way you're really going to know if it works for you is to try it. Thanks so much for tuning in.